His hands shook as he looked down at the coin. He just had a good feeling about it. He knew he'd be subject to ridicule if he was wrong, but he'd be very lucky if he was right. Don Lutz Jr. had no idea what he had found and just how long it would take to unravel its mystery. Don Lutz Jr. was a regular kid that went to Pittsfield High School. But one day he looked down at the lunch money his mother had given him only to find a peculiar coin. He decided to keep it. But even after showing it off to peers, teachers, and his parents, no one seemed to even humor him. He would learn to get used to feeling this way when it came to the coin. Don Lutz Jr. always put his everything into anything he did. He was born in 1931, graduated his high school in 1948, and got a degree in business admin from Basin College. But he always thought of his passion and never lost sight of it. Don loved collecting the strangest coins he could get his hands on. He loved it so much he went on to be the president of Berkshire Coin Club after being a member for 60 years. But the best find he had ever discovered would be the one that sparked his hobby. Don knew the coin was special despite what others thought, and to think he found it in his lunch money one day in 1947 while in line at the cafeteria. That odd penny was almost spent on lunch, but luckily he had seen it before that. But what made the coin in question so special to Don? To anyone else, the coin looked like a regular 1-cent piece. It had Abraham Lincoln on one side and words that read 1 cent, United States of America, engraved on the surface. But why did Don think it was so special? What did he notice that others didn't? But Don would have to momentarily forget about the coin when he had to step up and service his country by enlisting in the United States military to fight in the Korean War. But years later, experts would need to find the origins of the coin to figure out what secrets it was hiding. During the Second World War, militaries used copper strategically. Copper was reserved for telephone wires, shell casings, and many other essential items during the war. And as a result, the Lincoln steel pennies that were minted in 1943 were coated in zinc. However, mints were still using a small amount of copper for certain coins. Then, the rumors began to fly. To a collector, errors in the minting process are just as valuable as flawless coins that are rare. Due to these error coins' anomalies and flaws, they are a rare commodity. As soon as a coin with an error leaves the mint undetected and goes into circulation, its value increases. So, when an error coin remains in circulation for a long period of time, its value increases exponentially. Soon, legends began to grow about the mythical copper pennies that had gone into circulation in error. Stories appeared in newspapers, comic books, and magazines, and a number of fake copper-plated steel cents were passed off as fabulous rarities to unsuspecting purchasers, Heritage Auctions wrote. Despite the mounting number of reported finds, the mint steadfastly denied any copper specimens had been struck in 1943. However, the rumors had gotten the attention of Don Lutz Jr. Decades after Don had found the coin, he still hung onto it tightly. Even though there were many opportunities for him to let it go, he remained firm in his belief. Many coin collectors made him offers for the coin, but he refused. At one point, Don even contacted the U.S. Treasury to evaluate the Lincoln penny, but they gave him some bad news. The U.S. Treasury refused to believe that Don had found a rare copper penny and dismissed it as a fraud. They held on to their familiar refrain, all pennies struck in 1943 were zinc-coated steel. And so the penny remained in Don's collection, until one day he was finally vindicated. Despite the U.S. Treasury declaring Don's coin a fraud, it would eventually come to pass that the Lincoln penny was confirmed as a true holy grail of mint errors. Researchers made a breakthrough discovery when they realized that copper planchettes had gotten stuck in tote bin doors. These tote bins were used to feed coins that didn't make the final press back into the machine. These coins from the early 1940s had slipped through the net and became dislodged and were fed into the coin press, along with the wartime steel blanks, according to Heritage Auctions. And collectors have dedicated their entire lives to finding these elusive error coins. Despite relentless searching by eager collectors over a period of more than 70 years, only a handful of legitimate specimens have ever been discovered, Heritage Auctions wrote. Peg's CoinFacts estimates the surviving population at no more than 10 to 15 examples in all grades. We have compiled a roster of all specimens certified by the two leading grading services below, including an unknown number of resubmissions and crossovers. So, how much was Don's coin worth? When Don Lutz Jr. was admitted to the Fairview Rehabilitation Center in Great Barrington, MA, he knew it was finally time to let go of his prized coin collection. His health had been deteriorating and his wife had passed many years before. He had no relatives to pass his beloved coins on to. But Don still had unfinished business with the Lincoln coin. Sadly, Don passed away on September 3, 2018, but not before receiving some news about his prized penny. A major grading company had evaluated his 1943 Lincoln coin and had found it to be a genuine error coin. They provided him with official documentation and, due to his determination, listed it as the Don Lutz Discovery coin. And in recognition of his achievement, Don Lutz Jr.'s name became a legend in the coin collecting world. Over time, more of the legendary copper coins were found scattered across the United States. 10 to 15 of the mysterious error coins were found in a mint in Philadelphia, 6 were found in a mint in San Francisco, and 1 was found in a mint in Denver. So, what happened to the one Don had found all those years ago? It turns out that Don's good friend, Peter Karpinski, had traveled from Massachusetts to visit him at Fairview Rehabilitation Center. But Peter wasn't expecting to become the consignor of the rare 1943 Lincoln penny that day. Peter said, "When he was in the nursing home, I asked him, 'Would you like some notoriety?' And he said, 'Sure.' And so here we are." In Don's lifetime, many rumors captured his imagination, but there was one particular rumor that prompted Don to hang on to that penny that he had found so many years ago. Many coin collectors spread the rumor that Henry Ford himself had promised to give a new car to anyone who was lucky enough to find one of the legendary copper coins. At the time, Don desperately wanted a car from Ford. And even though the rumor was debunked, Don still held onto his coin. And now, 70 years later, the coin was finally on auction. The auction for Don Lutz Jr.'s penny took place at the Florida United Numismatics Convention in Orlando, Florida, on January 10, 2019. Bob Merrill from Heritage Auctions opened the bidding floor. Sarah Miller, who also works at Heritage Auctions, said, "This is the most famous error coin in American numismatics, and that's what makes this so exciting." Then, the bidding war began. The opening bid starts and Peter Karpinski holds his breath. Suddenly, the bid climbs to $130,000 and a battle ensues. Two famous coin collectors bid fiercely against one another, neither backing down as the price of the Lincoln coin skyrockets. A pause. Then, one man steps up to the plate, raising the winning bid to take the penny home. His name was Tom Caldwell, and he had been collecting coins for most of his life. Tom Caldwell had founded Northeast Numismatics more than 50 years ago, and he had his eye on the prize. Bob Merrill confirms that he is the winner, and the hall erupts in applause. But how much was the Lincoln penny worth to him? The winning bid was a staggering $170,000, and Tom Caldwell had to put in a 20% buyer's premium. So Don's 1943 Lincoln penny ulti sold for a whopping $204,000. "I'm glad to bring it back to Massachusetts," Tom Caldwell said. "We'll keep it for a while. We'll eventually sell it." But Peter Karpinski, Don's dear friend, was excited for another reason. "The proceeds are going to a local library in Pittsfield, Massachusetts," he said happily. And that was Don's wish.